Nagaland is here. It is mostly in India, where it has its own region, but it goes into Myanmar, previously called Burma, around the Law Nuak Cone village. The reason Nagaland was split down the middle is because in 1937 the British Empire decided to be helpful, the only way they knew how. Drawing straight lines. On the Indian side, the region of Nagaland only gained recognition after rebels did what they do best. Rebelliousness stuff, as it was part of the Assam state. Between 1961 and 1963, the area was ruled by a council of tribal leaders, but then ascended to statehood, where it got its own legislative assembly. In 1975, Indira Gandhi, everyone's favourite Indian PM, who has a weird fascination with blue stars, go check out the Khalistan video, took direct control as the rebels still hadn't quite piped down. Indeed, on the other side of the border, various insurgent groups were fighting. After Indira Gandhi took control, some groups stood down, but not all of them. And then the Nagaland Baptist Church stood up and brokered some ceasefires, building on the peace council it had previously established in 1972. The Nagaland's People Front, a peaceful political party, is united with the desire to reunify Nagaland under one banner, make electoral reform, and find peace in Indian Nagaland. Came to have the majority of power in 2003. Some rebels didn't stop though. Between 2009 and 2013, up to 55 million militants in the different factions were killed, yet there were no more than 11 civilian deaths per year. In 2012, all the MLAs, which are basically the local MPs, in Indian Nagaland, lobbied the Indian government to settle things, so talks began. In the negotiations, the terrorists, known as the National Socialist Party of Nagaland, wanted to reincorporate Nagalands outside the state. Like those in Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh, and Assam. This was outright rejected by the Indian government, and while the Nagaland's People's Front was willing to compromise and accept it, the National Socialists didn't take it so well. Like all suppressed nationalist groups that got pushed around by tyrants imposing direct rule and drawing arbitrary lines, they started rebelling, and eventually, due to what is basically evolution and survival of the fittest logic in social movements, where the fittest is defined as the loudest and most volatile and with the strongest grassroots support, almost inevitably a terrorist group will occur eventually. And that is exactly what happened with the National Socialist Party of Nagaland, otherwise known as the NSCN, which was originally a nationalist group looking to unite Greater Nagaland, or Nagalim. They are a Maoist militia group that aren't terrorists in the normal sense, but more a political party with a paramilitary, sort of like Hamas, or with the original Nazis, the Freikorps. The swastika did occur in Eastern religions around this area as a symbol of peace, but despite the similarities with symbology and names, they are not the same at all. National Socialism and Maoism are different ideologies, so don't get them confused. This group was originally funded by the Indian government to undermine alternate and more previously powerful rebel groups, but this stopped promptly. However, what is rather conspicuous is that China has allegedly taken up the mantle and is funding, training, and supplying arms to this group to assist it in its aim for independence from India. It seems to be another move in China's geopolitical game to undermine India and assert regional hegemony. Back to the peaceful front, India and Myanmar agreed a free movement regime, where tribes living along the border are permitted to move 16 kilometres either side of the border. Note though, free movement simply means no visa is required. Security and customs checks can still persist, and indeed they do, because the most important little asterisk on this deal is that they can only happen at checkpoints, as India has been building a huge fence along the whole border to alleviate the large amount of drug trafficking across the border that has come under criticism from the international community. In all, Nagaland seems to be a hotspot in India and Myanmar for rebel and perhaps international smuggling that isn't spoken about half as much as it needs to be, and active terror cells in the area cause chaos while also indicating more geopolitical games and manipulation by China. Please like, subscribe and hit the notification bell to hear about our next video. In the meantime, become a Patreon and go check out our Instagram and TikTok, all in the links below.